What's good, guys? We're here for another video of the trading revision, and this week we ended in a loss. It wasn't the best. Yeah, it wasn't the best, but there was a lot of lessons to learn this week. I'm starting to realize that there's always new lessons all the time in the market. So we're going to learn the lessons this week, what we've made wrong, what we've done wrong, and we're going to improve so that next week we can apply them and become a better trader. So if you guys like this video, hit that like and subscribe. I'm not going to stop till I get to the top. You'll know how it is. Let's get to the video. Starting with Wednesday, we took 3 losses this week, and this is the 4-hour higher time frame. Why we essentially took that loss and what we could learn from this loss. Right now, we can clearly see that over the past few weeks, what has been happening? Price has been pushing to the upside with not much of a big retracement. And usually what we've seen in the past is that when price doesn't have a huge retracement, it will come back down later on during the climb. So we can see from here, price did a climb, and then I had a huge retracement. As for this one, price did an even bigger push to the upside. So we can see a huge retracement, possibly to 1.30460. But at this time, we were still considering price at this time to continue to push to the top. Right now, probably for next week, we're probably going to be looking for more retracements, like the whole week being just full of retracements instead of price continuing up, unless it gives me a different bias. But for the time being, we can clearly see here, we're looking for buys throughout this whole week because we were still thinking price was going to continue going up. But what actually happened was price was actually coming down. It was actually retracing. This was the week of, you can say, retracements, where it was just coming back. You needed to fill up all the liquidity, grab more liquidity to either continue pushing forwards or just to reverse. But in this case, it was to grab some more liquidity. So if we go down to the 5-minute time frame, we can clearly see here, the reason why I took a buy here was because price was at the weekly open price. Price did deviate from the daily open, which the daily open is this light blue line, by 30%. Price came up halfway, came back down, and this was before my trading time. And now after my trading time, price came back and it gave me the perfect opportunity to take a buy at the weekly open price and the monthly and the liquidity that it just grabbed. But what I did not take into consideration, which I did have a thought in mind, but I didn't execute on it, was to take a buy here in this area. The reason why I was thinking of this area specifically was because it was backed up by 4-hour monthly open price and also a bigger deviation. Would I have taken this buy here even though I would have lost? Yes, due to the fact that it would have been in the best position possible because there was no news today, and when there's no news, price takes longer to actually make the move that we're looking for. So in this case, I actually had a FOMO during this situation. I remember it clearly. I had FOMO. I took a buy because I didn't want to miss out on the continuation back to the daily open. In this case, price did not want to make it back to the daily open, but I just didn't want to miss out, and this is why I took the L. It was because it was my mindset, it was my psychology. I wanted to take a trade today because I was getting closer to me passing my phase 1. In this case, this week kind of pushed me back a little bit, but I need to understand to essentially not force it and just trade how I usually trade. So from this, what I can learn from this, guys, is to really just have that mindset right, because I had the right area to take a buy, but it wasn't the best area because there was no news. When there's no news, price likes to go into better areas, and this wasn't the best area that price could get to. Price could get to this area, which was the best area, and price did get to this area, but I would not have taken the trade because it wasn't in my time to buy. So this shouldn't have been a buy at all, but let's just say it was a buy, which it was. What would I do to at least minimize the loss? I couldn't really do anything because it was at the weekly open price and it's not a liquidity. If it's a liquidity, I can essentially put 3.5 pips from below and mark that out, and I think I did do that in this case. Or I can just put my stop loss right below the liquidity, because usually when price grabs liquidity, it doesn't grab it again. Usually when price grabs liquidity, it doesn't actually grab it again. So I could have put my stop loss just below it. In this case, it was pushing off the weekly open price, and that's why I had a bigger stop loss, and I couldn't really do anything in this situation. So the lesson to learn from this is just to control your psychological state of mind and resist the FOMO, and be okay with missing out on trades. That's really it. Be okay with missing out on trades and learning. What happened on Thursday, guys, was price started up here, and very quickly, within the span of like 40 minutes, price came below, deviated 20% to the downside, which was still going well for me, although I was expecting to take a buy in this area, or yeah, this area or right below here. The reason why was because there was a monthly open price, there was a 1 hour liquidity, and there was just a lot of confluences in this area at the right time for price to have that chance to get back there in time to mix in with the perfect timing. Although what did happen was price just drilled straight through, so it kind of just demolished my plans. Although I did improvise in the situation, which was to take a buy here, and the reason why I took a buy here was because price grabbed another 1 hour liquidity without no like come up, and it was so close to grabbing another 4 hour liquidity. In this case, price did not grab that 4 hour liquidity, and essentially I decided to still take that buy because in these situations, price does not need to grab this 4 hour liquidity because it's already grabbed a lot of 4 hour liquidity. So this 4 hour liquidity, I didn't think it needed to be grabbed because that was like a recent 4 hour liquidity, and it just didn't seem like it needed to be grabbed. So I took a buy here, and the lesson I could have learned from here was to essentially take out at the daily open. The reason why I didn't take out at the daily open was because I still thought price was going to push up. The reason why I had a little bit of space for my stop loss was because price likes to grab just below this 5-minute liquidity area before continuing pushing up if I had the right direction for the day. Unfortunately for today, I did not have the right direction, and this is what happened. Later on, it decided to push down lower. What I could have done in this situation is either taken out at the daily open because of price already deviating 20% this way and 20% the other way. Even though it was with the bias, price has already been pushing up for the past time. So I should have taken that into consideration, and I could have just taken out for a little bit of profits. So what I did do good in this situation was I did cut my stop loss, because my stop loss was originally below here because it wasn't too much. So I think it was something like 13 pips or 10, something like that. And I decided to cut it just below here by 3.5 pips. So it was something like this, because would it been enough space for if price was to retrace, which it did in this situation, that if it was to grab more liquidity, it would have had space to grab that liquidity without touching my stop loss. And if it does touch my stop loss, I would think price to push down lower, which it did in this situation. I don't think I did anything wrong in this situation. It's just that what I could have done better was to take out at the daily open. So let's go to the last day, which was Friday now for the week. And Friday shows that I took a buy way later on in New York session. The reason why I took a buy in the New York session is because it was Friday, and Friday I can trade London and New York because of one, I have no work tomorrow, and two, that's just a part of my strategy. I made sure that work and my strategy go together so I don't really miss out. Right. So for this situation right here, I took a buy here because price did the exact same thing yesterday as it did today on Friday. And what happened was I could have just kept my take profit at the daily open, which I didn't necessarily, but I had that in mind. And what I could have done in this situation, which I took a buy and then I just left it, and I shouldn't have left it because this should have been a break-even trade, although I left it and I came back on Saturday morning and this is what it turned out to be. So I did take an L, but what I could have done is left it with a break-even. So I shouldn't have lost this trade. And for this trade, I would have lost, and this trade I would have lost. So I would have had a smaller loss during this week. Price did the exact same thing it did yesterday, just a kind of bit of a different formation, lining up for a sell to the downside. Although it was against the bias, it was understandable because price needed to have a bigger retracement to the downside. That's why I say next week we could be looking at taking sells because price needs a bigger retracement if it decides to do it the following week. So that's really what I've learned this week, guys. Obviously, number one is to not let FOMO get to me, like not let FOMO get inside me. Not let FOMO get inside my mind and curate my reality, as my loss here on Wednesday. For Thursday, what I could have done in this situation was taking out at the daily open and not being too greedy necessarily, because I did expect price to come back up. Instead it didn't. But even that, I wouldn't even consider this a loss. I would just consider it just like a normal loss. And what I mean by a normal loss is when you're just following your strategy. You still have to lose to win. See, this loss was really unnecessary because I wouldn't have taken a trade this day if I was to wait for the right area to take a buy. As of Thursday, this was just a normal loss. And for Friday, this was just an unnecessary loss. I think that makes sense. But you get the point. This is an unnecessary loss. Should have been a break even. and I should have just accepted it, although I just passed out necessarily because I drank on Friday and woke up with a loss. It is what it is, guys, and that's really the lesson I need to learn, just to be more focused, be more disciplined, and that's really the whole point of what I needed to learn today to prevent me from taking more losses than wins. So I hope you guys like this video. Hit that like and subscribe. I'm not going to stop till I get to the top. You guys know how it is. If you guys want to meet with me or talk with me, not really meet with me, but talk with me, down below is Traders Headquarters. And those are all like-minded traders that are trying to either become profitable or who are profitable already. So I hope you guys enjoy. Catch you all tomorrow.